what has been done in the past, what is available, what's ahead so far. So, what do you mean by open educational resources? I have highlighted some of the key words which flags it up, such as the material is digitized, it is freely and openly available, it is a resource, it has some licenses attached to it, you can reuse or remix and redistribute. So it has all those qualities about it, and I've chosen the definition from the OECD as well as
Wikipedia, which is a very good example of an open source outlet where all of us go, but we deny that it's good enough. So this is what we mean when we say open educational resources. The key words are openness of education and openness of the resources used in the educational environment. Question number 2. Why do we need OERs? Are there any specific gains in sharing our open educational resources, or are there penalties or threats of not sharing? There are 2 arguments you would find in the literature. The pool argument based on the gains of sharing open educational resources, such as freely sharing reinforces societal development and diminishes social inequalities, and also the push argument of the threats of not sharing. And I think this is very important, that we are in danger of marginalizing ourselves and compromising traditional academic values of openness to knowledge if we don't share, and if we are not careful, Microsoft will take over. There are very good reasons why we need to have open educational resources in that sense. But let's come very specifically home to the University of Leicester and say that what are the benefits for us within this institution of having open educational resources? And here, I really want to point out to you some very good evidence. There is evidence where Webometrics started publishing about institutional visibility in 2004. The latest round of publishing that they released shows that all the institutions which are involved in OER are very high, but very, very visible out there to the world. And not surprisingly, the MIT comes up top. But there are also other institutions which are also quite interestingly coming up, institutions in Spain, in Norway, in Portugal, all over the place, who are into OERs, which are quite visible on the web. The other evidence relates to the fact that having OERs within the institution helps to attract new students. And the MIT in particular, and there was a recent survey published, which said that about 35% of the people who made the choice to enroll in MIT did so on the basis of their open educational resources. The Open Learn has published a result which links about 6,000 student enrollment to the availability of open educational resources. In fact, when you look at the MIT one, 61% of the traffic were non-US people coming from outside. And in 2005, when it was launched, they had over 8.5 million hits on their website as a result of this. These are factual things that have been published, and I can go on and on and on. But basically, a lot of educators go there to develop resources to help them to teach and to enhance their own knowledge, and the same applies to students. And if you are in doubt, the new convert to OER is President Obama. The Higher Education Academy recently said that Obama promised to invest $500 million in developing that resource. The future is not orange, the future is OER. But in relation to that is the argument that by having OERs, we make resources available. By making those resources available, we can cut down cost on production. There is no need to reinvent the wheel in that sense. Why don't you have an open resource where you can constantly do this very easily? And there is some evidence that OERs helps in that direction. We can reach out to new students who do not have access to higher education. The quality of the materials we put out, because we want other people to see, we take time into making sure they are very good. We have improved quality of the materials, which can stimulate innovation. And there is also the social responsibility angle of saying that, look, we are paid, supported by the taxpayer, and it is in that interest that we should also support the development of open educational resources. By saying, why is Leicester? There are so many other institutions around the world doing the same thing, over 3,000 courses currently available from over 300 universities across the world. And I've given some few examples. In the UK, in the US, in Europe, there's an attempt to put together a pan-European OER initiative which brings together various institutions in Europe to develop this resource for use. China, Japan, OER Africa, the UNESCO Virtual University, Australia, all over the place. So you can see that the world sees the future of education as something that should be opened. But you see, institution, Leicester, what is in it for me, as an individual? There is evidence to show that by providing OERs, you gain recognition from your peers, there's publicity, the opportunity to collaborate with other partners across the world, and the advantage of hopefully commercializing a version of what you have produced, which means that it's not just a reputation, but also possibly money in your pocket. But you say, are you saying I should release my materials, the material that students pay £10,000 for, just for free? And the answer is yes. Yes. Because when students pay £10,000, they don't just pay for course materials. They pay for university experience. They pay for the accreditation. They pay for the teaching. They pay for the opportunity to network. And particularly, I can say that of myself. We pay for the cultural experience of coming to the UK. So there are benefits there of having those materials made available for use. Who are the target audience? Who are we trying to reach out to? Current students of the University of Leicester. And in this regard, I would like to say that a very prominent student leader in this university said he was given an assignment in economics, and he went on the MIT site and got resources which he used for writing his assignment. And he said, oh, at the time I was thinking, why didn't we have this within our university? And that is a prominent student leader saying that. But also independent learners, work-based learners, educators, researchers, people in developing countries, the global public. They are all the target for the production of these materials. Are OERs sustainable in the long term? This is a question that is a bit tricky, and I am not very sure. There isn't enough evidence, or there's limited research to actually support the sustainability of OER. But nonetheless, there are different funding models out there which suggest that it works and it can be sustained one way or the other. We have the MIT model, which is institutionally supported. There are membership, endowments, donations, government partnership with businesses, and government sponsorship. So there are various funding models which actually support the sustainability of OERs, and we in Leicester have to think about where which model we want to adopt. Now you ask about quality. How can I be sure about these materials out there? Because quality becomes an issue. And again, this is a very tricky question, but I can say that one way of understanding the notion of quality is taking into consideration the quality enhancement process involved in the production of the OERs. This is our framework. We call it the core framework. It stands for looking at the content, looking at the question of openness, how the materials can be reused and repurposed, and then the evidence. And we have all the indicative questions that we use in making sure that before it is put out there, it has actually gone through some quality screening process. But beyond that, you can say that the institutional reputation is very, very important. Certainly, if somebody wanted something in museum studies, we can say that museums in the UK, our university is one of the leading institutions as far as research is concerned in the area of museum studies. So that reputation is good enough. But beyond that, it's also the individual profile. The individual profile. If somebody certainly wanted a book on activities or e-moderating, I'm sure Jilly Salmon would come up as one of, because she has that reputation of working in that particular area. So these are some of the indicators. But we also have the growing community around a particular OER. And the Open University in particular is, I think, working on that angle of creating communities around various educational resources. So these indicators at least helps us to actually tell the quality of the material when it is out there. These are some of the questions. There are more questions, and I have flagged some of them up here. Metadata standards, how to update the material, tracking the use of it are all issues. Thank you very much.